How are we going, everybody? They decided to play right now. Settle down. All right, behave. Sit, sit. Good girl. Vader, sit. Oh, sit. Good boy, good girl. Anyway, folks, I mentioned yesterday that I was going to show you how to prep up for autumn garden. Now, I haven't got a, well, actually I do have a garden sitting there resting for the last couple of weeks. It's down over there, it's on the ground level, but I was going to just do this one here as well. It's exactly the same process, really. What you need to do is establish whether your soil is inert, which means it doesn't breathe. That's the summer garden after you've taken everything out. I've still got my tomatoes going in here, so ignore that in the background. We've got this little strip here, and I'm going to plant my lettuce in here. So as I said, we've got to check that the soil isn't completely dry if you haven't been watering it to see if it's holding its moisture or not. And second to that, you need to check the pH level, you need to check the temperature level, and the best way to do all that is with the 4-in-1 soil survey instrument. I've got it on. It's set at standard at 7 pH on the Richter scale, as we call it, and the sun, I can't even see that. I've got my glasses here. Let me put my glasses on. And what have we got on the top? It is normal sunlight. So we're overcast at the moment. It's the afternoon that we're filming it. So sun is low, so I've just cupped it over. Now if I take it away, it's normal. So that's the sun reader. All right, so let's check the pH. Now we need to leave it a few seconds or minutes for it to adjust. Down to 7.5, 7. The horses are running in the background. 6.5. Now if it gets any lower than 5.5, I need to treat it properly with the black grit so I can balance it out. If it sits at 6 and 6.5, I'm wrapped. That's perfect soil for me. Well, that's a perfect pH, that is, not soil. We'll check that. Here we go, 6. We'll leave that do its business. Let's get back into the soil area while that's adjusting itself. So what we've got here is bean straw. You can use pea straw, sugarcane mulch, all those different types of mulch you find in your local garden centres. And that's a covering, it's a blanket. It keeps the moisture in, keeps the heat out, keeps the warmth in. It does all the things that it needs to do. So if you put too much, what I mean by too much, folks, is when you layer it on like this thick, right, really thick and compressed, that there will actually cause more problems. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't mean the more you put, the better it is. If you put more manure, it's going to be better for the plants to grow faster. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like saying I'm going to eat 1 steak and I'm going to eat 10 steaks because I can. It's going to make me give me all the protein I need. It doesn't work like that for the human body, and it doesn't work for the soil as well. And these dogs are going to kill themselves. They've really gone wild, so don't mind them if running in the background. Anyway, so when we layer the mulch, we need it to be about 75 mil thick, 50 mil thick compacted. So when it flattens out, it'll sit down around 50 mil like that, okay? If it's 75 mil thick flattened, it's too thick. Not enough air will get through, not enough moisture will get through, and then you'll find yourself hydrating the garden bed more often. Now, what we do at the end of summer, and ignore the irrigation, because not everybody's got irrigation in their garden beds, we have a look underneath the soil. We're going to work on the theory of a no-dig garden, right? So the aim is to have a quality soil, active microbiome in the earth. So see how I'm breaking that up lightly? You can scratch the surface like that if you like, just to break the crust up, if there is a problem like that. Because sometimes when you don't have enough mulch or any mulch at all, the surface will crust over. If you've got sandy loam soil, it won't. If it's clay, definitely will. I can get my hand into this quite freely. I'm exposing roots here. That's coming from the tomato plant there. That's okay, it's only the one root. We'll bury that if we need to. But look at this. This is beautiful textured soil. Forms up in a ball. As you press it, it'll crumble away. See that? It just crumbles away. So it's like a cookie. That's a dead plant from something. I can't remember what that is. Anyway, put that aside. So the soil texture is good. If the pH, it turned off. I forgot all about there. It is at 6 point. So it's 0 at 6, neutral, perfect. It's what you want it to be. But let's say your soil isn't. Let's say it's sitting at 4, 4.5. That is super acidic. That's how you cook your plants. That's how plants grow real fast and die real fast. That's how fruit and flowers fall off before they ripen properly. So you need to keep the pH higher. The best way to do that is with black grit. A handful or 2 of black grit per square metre. So we pull the mulch away. I'll do a little section to demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. Well, this is a little section. Let's just do the whole thing, huh? So let's just pull the mulch away. What are you doing? Seriously, you two, are you relaxed? Yeah, this is cool, huh? Lifestyle. Sit, boy. Sit. Now let's get back into this. So we're going to pull the mulch away. You can, and I should say this too, you don't have to pull the mulch away if you're working on a no-dig garden. So the mulch itself can break down, become carbon food. It's a food source for the microbes, the fungi in the ground. So when we add our toppings, so we can layer it, that will over time break down and become part of the organic matter that the microbes break down and feed and give to the plants. You don't have to, you can leave it there, but you can pull it away as well. Me, I like to pull it away because it's really just a blanket. It's like taking the blanket off and checking what's going on underneath and laying the blanket back over the top. If your soil is too sandy, if your soil's too sandy, you grab a handful and you find it's dry, it doesn't absorb moisture, it's hydrophobic, then you need to dig that mulch into the garden bed. You can't leave it on top. Your soil needs to look like this between the seasons. If it doesn't, you need to fix it. And fixing that, it means adding your manures, your compost, your black grit, your cocoa fibres if you like, and your mulch on top as well, and digging that all in. Letting it sit for a couple of weeks, then planting away and putting your mulch back on top like that. So what we're going to do is move the mulch away, top dress it, and it's so easy to do. So the mulch is back. Now we're going to add the cocoa pith. What you can add in here, as I said earlier, you can add your manures, your compost, your cocoa pith, superfood, black grit, any organic matter that you may have made your own, worm castings as well. They're all fantastic as long as it's natural and organic. Now I haven't got any compost left, and we're going to have our compost that we've been talking about and growing stuff in soon made available in bulk form. So you can come over here with your trailer and load up as many cubic meters as you like. Not yet. Don't ring up tomorrow saying I want compost, and please do not ring Sunday at 5:23 p.m. and then complain that we haven't answered the email at 5:23 p.m. on a Sunday with another email Monday morning saying I emailed you. No, because the ladies give me the emails, and if you know what I'm like, I'm going to email you directly back myself and bite your head off. Stop doing that sort of stuff. Be patient. Sorry guys, because there was a lot. People just, I know you're eager. We're all eager. I want to have the perfect garden as well. Does it look like the perfect garden? No, and I'm still trying because this crazy weather we have here. Now it's about 12 degrees outside and I've only got a shirt on. Anyway, the cocoa coir, right? This is a no-dig garden, and why I'm doing this, I don't really need to add anything to here other than for the reason that I need to raise the bed because it's sunken down a bit, okay? So the cocoa coir, you can add as much as you like of this because it's a perfect growing medium. And we've just realised or learnt recently, you know what, just add it all. The superfood is not a bad growing medium either because our plants are doing mighty well and they're growing directly in the actual castings. So we spread this out evenly like that. See, I'm not digging it in. This will work its way through. It will work its way down. It won't work overnight, happen overnight, but it will do the job. So I only need this. And this time I'm only gonna do, I keep saying I'm gonna put 5 or 6 plants, but I'll end up putting 20 in here. Anyway, so next, this is a superfood 30 litre. I'm not gonna put all this here. I'm just gonna give it a light dressing like that. Like that. And before we mix that in, see the bag of superfood is pure superfood, and this is our black grit. A couple of handfuls like that. I'll put a little bit more over the top. Done. Now we just mix it through like that. I'm just using the cultivator. I'm blending through the superfood with the cocoa coir. If we grab a little bit of the soil underneath, that's fine. There's a lot of science behind why we shouldn't dig, but there's also a lot of science why we should dig. So we've got to understand what's going on with our soil before we decide whether we dig or don't dig. If your soil's nice and loose and fluffy and full of rich organic matter and active and alive, you don't have to dig it. Stop interrupting it because you're breaking up the colonies of microbes and fungi. As soon as you break them apart, it's like, bringing a bulldozer between a couple of homes, they join together townhouses and you divide them down the middle. Then by the time they fix it, there's a separation there. That's what happens here. They need to network, and when they network themselves, they communicate. And I'm talking about microbes and fungi and plants. So rake it through. Now, you saw me pouring superfood over before. In the same breath, I was talking about how we're growing plants directly in superfood. The recommended rate is about 70 to 100 grams per square metre. You can go up to 150, 200 grams. I've grown like 500 grams per square metre because we're doing the trials and we see the results are coming through. You don't have to waste it like that. I'm doing it because I know somebody's going to come back and say, I planted my plants and I put superfood and I burnt them. I'm going to say, no, you didn't, because you can't burn them. I'm growing it directly. That's what we call a trial. So please pay attention. If you want to put more, understand what you're doing before you do it, and especially what you're using. And it's not just about superfood, folks. It's anything you do, whether it's gardening or building something. Understand the project in front of you, what the task is, what the aim is, and the end result is what you're looking for, and then attack it. Don't go in there blindfolded and guessing your way through it and then falling over and then chasing everybody else for whatever's gone wrong. Sounds like a whinge? It's not a whinge, it's advice. So we mix it through like that, nicely done. And that's it. It's ready for planting. Now these are seedlings that I didn't transplant, and this is the part that I hate the most, is tearing them apart because they're so closely grown together. Look at that, there's half a dozen in there, all in that little corner there. A handful of seeds, folks. They're all available on our website. They're only like $2 or $3 a packet now. Really cheap. And this is it. This is an iceberg. This is a summer iceberg, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. So we're going to plant a few in here, if I can separate them without destroying them. Now, separating seedlings, if you're buying punnets, you can get them individual cells, but when you buy them, you can see how I'm pulling them apart carefully, and you want it to be damp like this as well. And then you break it down into halves and quarters, and you work your way down to the smaller size, to the single units. See, as I've got there now, I've got one in this corner. Sometimes you can't get the big and the small separated completely. You can if you want to be extra careful, run it under running water. But in this case here, I'm just going to grow them together. These ones I'm going to separate, and broken leaves like that, take them away. Don't leave them on there. So we'll separate this like this, and before you start planting, position them, mark the spots, get rid of the butchie boys, get rid of the centipedes, mark them and zigzag. So I'm going here, these are some beetroot, we had some left over. I'm zigzagging through the pattern like that. I thought she was going to eat the superfood, because that's what they've been doing. Every time I walk away, they eat my superfood. So we separate again in half, carefully, not to tear it apart. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. We've got seedlings falling down everywhere. I'm going to put two together in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more. 8. And just put these back in there. Now, folks, tearing the seedlings a little bit, it's okay. You get away with it because they'll grow back pretty quick. Lettuce, that is, but you want to avoid too much damage, or any damage at all if possible. Now I'm just using my fingers and popping them in like that. It's really light and fluffy and so easy to dig, and that's what you want, folks, like that. So I'm going to plant all these. Now before we cover, we're going to liquid feed them, then we're going to apply the mulch, and then we're going to liquid feed again. Why? Because we need to hydrate the roots, not just the mulch, because if we try to hydrate the mulch, we're going to use 3 times, maybe 4 times as much liquid to get it to penetrate through. So hydrate this first, then cover it over. And there you have it, folks. That's how quickly you can plant up a new garden bed. Now, the bigger the garden, obviously, the longer it's going to take. But it doesn't need much more work than that. If you've got really poor soil, it's because you haven't worked it properly from the previous season. You haven't done enough preparation or adding into it. And that's what you've got to do. Add all the organic matter, the straw, the mulch, the pea straw, whatever you're going to love to add into your garden. That's what you need to do to get the aeration. Texture, it's all about texture and moisture. You need to have the nutrients in there, and if you've got enough texture in, it means that you've got enough carbon breaking down for the microbes to feed off. So work your soil over, add your compost, add your manure, add your superfood, your cocoa pith, your black grit, liquid feed it. It doesn't get any easier than that. You can find it all on our website, vasilisgarden.com. Our superfood deal did finish. If you're wanting to order some online, look, the weight of the products, we're finding so heavy. The postage is really high, and I really am sorry for all those people in parts of Australia, you know, in Northern Territory. We get so many orders from up there, but the postage is horrendous. We can't do anything about that. That's why we keep dropping our prices as low as possible, so we can compensate for the high postage fees, which do not come to us, folks. Please understand that. We actually pay on top sometimes, and that's how it works. That's the system. They've got us by the short and curlies, but we are offering a pickup service here in Lethbridge and soon in Metro Melbourne. Hopefully we can get some other states, but look, you can find our products at all good garden centres as well. Blackroot Superfood is not out there yet, but Blackroot is. CGWS Fruition is out there. Those products are out there circulating for a number of years now in lots of garden centres. So pop into your garden centre, local, ask them for the product. If they haven't got it, get them to contact us and we'll be making sure to get some stock out there to them. Otherwise, you can go to our website, Vasili'sGarden.com, or come down and say hello at Vasili's Garden, Lethbridge, and soon to be, I won't tell you yet, you'll soon find out. You already know. Anyway, from me, Vasili, Maresi.